welcome to our 28 for 28 podcast series. So, 28 for 28 is a campaign which is dedicated to inspiring and empowering young individuals to act on climate change. And our mission through this platform is to amplify their voices and stories, showcasing them as role models who are driving innovation and making a positive impact. So, through this platform, we aim to provide a space where their work can be recognized and celebrated, and our goal is to provide 28 such stories in the run up to COP28. Today, we have Kartik who is joining us for this podcast. So, Kartik started Knowledge for Nature in the year 2021, and they've majorly worked with children and youth across India. And it's because Karthik's belief is that young people are champions of change, and the aim is to build a generation of environmentally conscious individuals who will be equipped with knowledge and skills needed to address environmental issues. Thank you for joining us today, Karthik. Let's begin. Can you start by sharing a little bit about your journey? Why did you start working towards climate action?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. The thing is that, as you mentioned, I work on a true perspective, which is climate change and child right. So this is not how I started like back in 2017, the time frame which I consider to say that, okay, I started working. The background from which I come is a village from agriculture family. So it was very common for me to recognize the change in the shift of the pattern of rainfall because it affects our field crop. And from there, I started recognizing the impact of climate change, that how it affects the farmers. And from there, like doing research, studying more about it, I thought that it should like people should know about this. And before beginning, I did a small research kind of stuff with people. It was not like with the papers, but like having an idea that what society thinks about climate change. I randomly gone through a age group of 12 to 20, and I just one question: what do you think, climate change is good or bad? The thing is that the response I received was 80% people said that climate change is good for Earth. And that was the point where I was stuck. That this is the level of thinking, critical thinking of the society we are in. And these are of those who are adult and young people. And from there, I decided that I will start working in the face of advocacy. It was no more any kind of policy thing, it was totally advocacy based. I started my first initiative called Voice to People. The new angle came was a child right. And when I started my next campaign called Knowledge for Nature, in which nature is not just an environment, it is every kind of nature. It is a human nature, it is an environmental nature. So these terms that we should know about the nature of a being, we should know the nature of the earth, and from there, like coming from the advocacy, then being to the advisor to the UN, and working as a focal point, children affairs at UNEP's youth constituency, starting policy intervention. So this is how it begins from there to here.
Right. Thank you for sharing, Karthik. It is interesting to see how different experiences in your life have molded where you've come. And like you mentioned, you have been an advisor to the UN for the General Comment 26. So, can you share a little bit about how your experience has been doing that?
Yes, I would love that because the fun part is recently I was in Geneva, Switzerland for the official launch of General Comment 26 at UN Geneva. And we met with the Committee on the Rights of Child. We met with the High Commission on Human Rights at the treaty bodies. And it was amazing experience working for those 18 months, and first time going in person and meeting to everyone, even my fellow advisor. So basically, I am like one of 12 advisor for General Comment 26, and I am very happy that this time the committee considered children as a stakeholder to the whole process. It was asked to me that what is the fun part, what is the most interesting part of General Comment 26? And for me, it is that the children was the first stakeholder of the entire process. They were first one to being consulted before the member state. So this was the very amazing journey where we learned about how policies are being drafted, intervention, and a lot more, because it is not a 20-page document. It is a journey of 2 years where we worked day and night to discuss the problem and come to the solution, recommendations. So this is how it went, and we are hoping on the implementation part of now General Comment 26 after coming back from Geneva.
Right. So I think we're already making some positive impact with everything that we're doing, and it's amazing to see now children also being considered as stakeholders. Can you tell me a little bit about your inspiration, somebody who inspires you, or any uh, act or incidents that inspired you to keep going on?
When I started, I was like, Greta Thunberg was a big name at that point of time, and we always wanted to be like her. Malala Yousafzai was one such name, and now when I work, then I now time these days I get inspired by one of my fellow colleague in the role of advisor, and also a very great nice person, Francisco, who is again a child but doing a great work. So seeing young people working in such sector, risking the lives and making a change, like change is our motivation. So in a very simple word, change is our motivation.
Great, very well put, Karthik. Thank you for that. I would also want to ask you, since we have COP28 coming up soon, so do you have any message to the world leaders that you would want to put across as a young person working or advocating for climate action?
Yes, I think I should, and I must. We as a child are coming to those forums because it is our life. It is all about our life. It is all about our planet.
Right. Thank you, Karthik, for that. Before we conclude today's podcast, one last question I would like to ask you is for you to actually share a message for the youth as well. Because young stories, positive young stories, are always inspiring for us. So, a message that you would like to share with the youth in order to motivate them to take action.
We have the stake. We are the coming generation. If we are not taking the responsibility, if we are not understanding the importance of our voice to be included in decision making, in implementation, then we are, I cannot say that in which way, in which direction of the future we are going in. Youth must admit that there is a need of change, and if they admit, then it is the biggest motivation to work for that change. So there's nothing big in it, but again, a small point, but it's very difficult to admit.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, Karthik. Really well put throughout the podcast, and thank you for joining us today. I hope that you and your stories inspire many more youth to take action. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Stay tuned for the further episodes for the 28 for 28 podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.